So far, what we have learned in the West is that almost all butterfly species are at extreme risk.
Yeah, so our recent work estimates a 1.6% decline in the total number of butterflies across the West. The data was largely collected by my former PhD advisor at UC Davis, Art Shapiro. So he's been collecting data on the butterflies of Northern California for almost 50 years. And we've started taking over data collection at some of the sites that he's been visiting. And I worked to bring other data sets together to analyze with that data. It is evident where we are as well. I mean, just to take the example that everybody knows, the monarch butterfly, which is in massive decline in the West. It's not the worst off species we have, but it's pretty bad. In all of 2020, I saw one individual butterfly.
I am the integrated pest management educator for the UNR extension. And I guess a big part of my programming on this current grant involves installing native plant demonstration pollinator gardens. When we think about decreases in insects, there is an importance for the pollination of our food crops, as well as the pollination of native plant species.
We have some major local extirpations going on in the West, so extirpation being extinction in a spot that doesn't affect the whole range. It's hard to see how some of those couldn't lead to full-blown extinctions. So we found that places that are warming more in the fall with climate change are seeing fewer butterflies. Back in the early 2000s, when I first started working with this data, we had an idea that a lot of the butterflies at low elevations were declining, but it still seemed like there were butterflies around, and it wasn't until we made these graphs of just trajectories over time that it was all just like every single species had a downward trend.
Butterflies are tied to temperature and climate in a couple different ways. When there are longer, hotter summers and falls, it almost may force them to be active longer. The other way in which they're tied to the climate is because of both precipitation and temperature determining how good of a season different types of plant species have. And since the butterflies are so tightly linked to the plants through needing them for their caterpillar development, if the plants don't do well, typically the butterflies don't do well.
Now with warmer temperatures, we're alternating between snow accumulation and melt all winter long. Complicated for plants and animals that are used to just a big rush of water coming out of snowbanks in the spring.
A butterfly's energy reserves are largely determined by the amount of plant that it can eat as a caterpillar.
They may be burning more fats than they would otherwise if it was colder. Such that by the time spring comes around, it's like they've burned up all their fat reserves and then they have nothing left for spring.
I'm the assistant manager for the greenhouse project in Carson City and the site manager for the Foothill Garden. We do see a fair bit of tiger swallowtails, monarchs on occasion, although certainly not as many as in the past.
I've been concerned with our recent work that people would hear the message that climate change is impacting all of those spaces out there, and that means that we then don't need to worry about pesticides because it's just all climate change. But that's not the message. The message is that if climate change is impacting all of the open spaces, that elevates the need for smart management of the spaces that are close at hand.
What we're doing specifically to attract pollinators and butterflies in general is not using pesticides. Trying to provide flowering species and nectar and pollen sources through all times of the year. Also habitat, typically that's dense, brushy shrub stuff that's left low and we don't clean it up in the fall. The biggest thing that folks can do at home to support pollinator health is to stop using the pesticides. They breed pests, they harm pollinators. That's the first step.
We often recommend native plants because they may be more attractive to native pollinators.
And there are practical things that you and I can do to advance policy. Something that I suggest people do is call up their local city parks department and ask how much do you spray in parks in terms of pesticides and herbicides. Just asking that question can start a good conversation. But in terms of warming and drying, the West has some serious issues, which again elevates the need for smart management of irrigated spaces and places that we can